Dave, it's time for the rigs and techniques, so
Yes,
let's
sir.
just roll. Let's get right in there.
You know, Texas is a great place to target flounder. There's all the bays and estuaries and places where the fresh water and the salt water meet. That's where flounders like to lay, you know. And although flounders are year-round, you know, catch in Texas, it's in the wintertime, starting up in the winter when they really start to move out of the bays and up from the end, really far up into the country, out into the bays and places where we can really access them a little better. And you know, when you have a really nice tide flowing and you've got bait and shrimp, you know, especially little mullets or little mud minnows, especially any place where a creek comes out onto a flat, a muddy spot, or even a grassy area with potholes in it. Those are all places that a flounder will lay. They'll even lay up on rocks. A lot of people have the idea that they won't lay up on rocks, but they'll lay up on rocks too. If there's bait around and it's shallow enough where they don't have to go far to get their food, then they'll even lay up on rocks, and they can change their colors on the, you know, he's a flatfish. He lays on the bottom. He's got these really sharp teeth, and you know, we miss a lot of flounder fish when we're fishing for trout and reds and stuff, because we're tuned to set the hook immediately when we get a strike, no matter if we're using bait or artificials especially. But with a flounder, because he's got those really sharp teeth and that pretty good sized mouth, he likes to grab things and kill it with those teeth. And what he'll do is he'll grab a hold of it really good and just chew on it and hit it again and again and again with those teeth. And if we're on the other end, you know, jerking on it or did we get a bite, and still jiggling that bait or that head of the lure, he's not going to let it go, and we're going to rip it right out of his mouth. And that's usually what happens. We get a lot of them where we miss them. But if you know that there's flounder there, and you know that it's a flounder bite, or you have a good idea that it's a flounder bite, you let him eat it. You got to let him, you know, count to maybe 5 or 6 slowly. You're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know,
right,
there's 5 seconds,
right.
Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a Mississippi in there.
Yeah.
Let him swim off, and when you see it moving a little bit, then go ahead. Sometimes they won't move, though. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes they'll just reach up, grab it, and go straight back down. But if he starts to move off, or you've waited time enough that he knows that thing is dead and has swallowed it, then you can set the hook on him.
So what are we going to use for him?
Well, if you're going to be using live baits, you know, a finger mullet is especially good. A mud minnow, if you can get a hold of some of those. A lot of tackle stores sell mud minnows when it's flounder season. Live shrimp also work really well. You'd fish a live shrimp on, let's say, 20 or 30 pound fluorocarbon with a Kale hook.
The Kale hook is a real popular.
It's a Kale hook is like a stretched out circle hook, and what it does, you know, because he's got that strange shaped mouth with all those teeth, it lets that hook get down in there, and that long shank will come tight in the corner of his mouth before that, and it'll come right to the corner instead of getting all fouled up in all those teeth and whatnot. And that's what's good. If you use an offset circle hook, that's just fine as well. But I prefer to use a Kale hook when I'm fishing for them. Now, they love to eat any kind of small bait fish, so anything that imitates a bait fish, like that spinner bait you have there and the paddle tail.
The vibration.
The vibration and the flash especially. And not only that, you can adjust the depth where you fish a spinner bait really well, which is really great because, you know, if you're using a spoon, sometimes it'll sink real too low, or you have to reel it too fast to get it up close to the surface. With a spinner bait, you can go really slow and get it up close to the surface, and it'll stay up close to the surface, or even down closer to the bottom with just, you know, an adjustment of the speed, and it doesn't take that much. Fish bites is a really good bait. Any type of flavored bait, you know, they like to have a little bit of a flavor. So it's really good when you can add flavor to any of your baits. If you want to spray some stuff on, spray some bang on any of your paddle tails and whatnot. Anything to try to make them hold on just a little bit longer. That's what we're trying to do, is make them hang on a little bit better. These are great hooks if you're going to be using something like a pilchard. You know, if you're fishing in a place, maybe a deeper area around because flounders,
where you got current, like in a gut or something.
Exactly. Big flounders will hang around even wrecks in 20, 30 feet of water sometimes. So if you can get around a bridge piling or a buoy, you know, a buoy anchor, they'll lay alongside those buoy anchors and just stack up and wait for that bait to come swimming by. Channel marker especially, yeah.
All right, man. Well.